Let's delve into a common challenge to resilience: unhelpful thinking habits. These habits don't help resilience, often making us feel worse. That's why they're called unhelpful. They're also called habits because they can become automatic over time, ingrained in how we think. In this lecture, we'll focus on 8 unhelpful thinking habits that can significantly damage resilience, and we will discuss how to reframe them. The first type we are going to discuss is called discounting the positive. This habit involves dismissing your achievements or any positive events, focusing instead only on the negatives. Let's look at an example. Imagine you are at work and your day was filled with small victories, but still you feel demotivated because of one boring task that you had to do. So you think, I hate my job. How can you reframe this? You could acknowledge that while some tasks are less enjoyable, many aspects of your job are fulfilling, like the autonomy, social environment, or opportunities it offers. So this means basically seeing the positives as well as the negatives. The second type of thinking habit we are going to discuss is all or nothing. When you're thinking like this, you see things as either perfect or a total failure, with nothing in between. For example, imagine you miss out on a promotion and think, I failed, my career is over. How could you reframe this? Instead of thinking that everything is over, you could instead consider if there are other options. You could ask yourself, what other opportunities are there? Or how can I move forward? This opens the door to new possibilities and solutions. Habit number 3 on our list is taking things personally. This involves blaming yourself for problems that aren't entirely your fault. For instance, you miss a deadline and think, this always happens because I'm not good enough. To reframe this thought, you could reflect on the circumstances and acknowledge external factors. Tell yourself, I did my best under the circumstances and some things were beyond my control. Another type of habits is jumping to conclusions. This happens when you assume outcomes. For example, when you think you know what will happen in the future and that's always negative. Or when you think you know what other people are thinking. Let's consider an example in a work context. HR announces that a review is on its way. So you think, I knew that this would happen. The company are planning redundancy and I'll be the first to go. How could you reframe this reaction? You could remind yourself, I don't have all the facts. This review might bring opportunities. I'll focus on what I can control and respond as needed. You then may decide that you need more information and talk to your manager first to see if you can find out more. Number 5 on our list is magnifying and minimizing. This thinking habit is also called loss of perspective, and it involves exaggerating problems or downplaying their significance. For example, imagine you lose your job. You could say, losing this job means my career is over. In this case, you are magnifying. Or you could think, industry changes won't affect me. This is minimizing. How could you reframe this? Is there a more constructive thought process? You could instead say to yourself, there will be new opportunities, I just need to look for them. Or you could think, this industry is based on trends and innovation. I need to keep my skills up to date and relevant if I want to always be employable. So in this way you are refocusing and adopting a middle ground, neither magnifying nor minimizing. Some useful questions you could ask yourself when you think that you might be losing perspective are the following. What's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? What is most likely that will happen? This approach helps you take a balanced view and focus on actionable steps. Next on the list, we have should statements. This habit involves using critical words such as should or must. Using should or must creates unrealistic expectations and leads to guilt or frustration. This is the case whether we use these expressions when talking to others or when talking to ourselves. In either case, should statements can be frustrating and very demotivating. As an example, imagine that you are a manager who sets strict standards and feels disappointed when employees don't meet them. To reframe this mindset, instead you could set realistic goals and coach employees to improve. The next unhelpful thinking habit we are going to explore is wishful thinking. This involves dwelling on if-only scenarios, leading to regret and fixation on the past. For instance, imagine you are a salesperson who lost an important sale, and then you obsess over what you could have done differently. This attitude surely won't help. So what could you do instead? Focus on the future. Learn from the experience and think about how you can improve next time. The 8th habit on the list is blaming others. This habit is also called externalizing, and it happens when you avoid taking responsibility by shifting blame onto others. For instance, imagine you are a chef. One day you burn a cake because of a timer error, but blame the sous chef for not double-checking. Instead of blaming others, you could take ownership of the mistake, apologize, and find solutions to prevent future problems. So now we've explored 8 types of unhelpful thinking habits that can have a negative impact on your resilience. Unhelpful thinking habits are common, but with awareness and practice, you can replace them with constructive alternatives. By reframing your thoughts, you build a mindset that fosters resilience and helps you navigate life's challenges more effectively. In the next lesson, I will guide you through an activity to help you identify possible unhelpful thinking habits you may have and ways to address them. See you in the next lecture.